Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to the first episode of the Nitty and the Gritty, where there's another person and there's video and audio, and it's a woman. So I want to start the whole episode out by saying Yas Queen. This is good. This is good. We're getting into a different demographic. But this is Jennifer Nauert. We've known each other for years. We don't really know each other now, but we grew up together, and I reached out to her because she's in recovery. I guess that's like a constant thing with you fuckers, right?
Sure is.
Okay, so she's in recovery. She's sober. She's doing really well. She has a fascinating story. And I'm supporting trans rights by drinking Bud Light, but I'm kind of a piece of shit and she's doing well. So I thought it would be an interesting juxtaposition to have a conversation about sobriety and health or mental health, whatever it is. So tell people about you, like now, not deep dive, but like what you're doing now.
Right now, I work at a tribal health clinic in Northern California. I live about 2 hours from San Francisco and 2 hours from Sacramento in the mountains on Clear Lake. And I am a substance use disorder counselor certified by the state of California. And I am a medication assisted treatment counselor. So that means I help people who are trying to get off heroin or fentanyl or alcohol, and they want medication to help them.
Not me.
And so what I do is I lead groups, I do one-on-ones, I place people in residential treatment, I do a lot of assessments. I just help people. I get paid to help people. It's awesome. I get paid to talk to people.
Yeah, it's really, I think that, I don't know, you and I have caught up since we didn't know each other for a long time. And whenever we caught up, I was like, holy shit. I don't know. Your story to me is so fascinating because it's literally a success story. Like, I mean, look at you. You have a fucking file cabinet.
Yes, I do.
I mean, that's when you know you're doing well. If you've got a goddamn file cabinet, like you're that just means you're doing important shit. So to me, that's like mind blowing. And we'll get into like I hate when I say this nitty and the gritty of like addiction and all that stuff and the yin and the yang of all that. But like I don't know, tell people where you came from, where you like what your story was, because to me that was like the fact that you're doing as well as you're doing now and where you came from is to me mind blowing.
Do you want me to tell the whole story? Like,
We got a lot of time and I got a whole box of Bud Light down here, so come on.
all right. So I grew up poor. Like my earliest memory is my parents like
We got a loud chair, sorry.
cuss, right?
Say what?
I can cuss, right?
Oh, you can say whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I my earliest memory in life is of my parents like beating the fuck out of each other. Like I woke up, I was probably like 2 or 3, and they like literally were just like beating each other up. And I was scared, and my uncle came and grabbed me and took me outside, and we were looking at the stars. And what I realized now that I've studied psychology and whatnot is that we often go back to the thing that makes us feel the safest the first time we felt stress. And that's the first time in my life that I felt stress. And I looked at the stars. And so what I do now is every morning I go outside, I drink coffee, I watch the sunrise, and I set my intentions for the day, and then I watch the sunset. And I feel like
Cheers.
stars is like that's my safe place. Like, when I'm stressed out, I want to be outside. I want to look at the stars. I want to look at the sky. So,
So you sound, see, whenever you were saying that to me, like I took that as like the addiction thing where you go to the thing that's like the hugs. I'm sure you're getting there. I'm sorry. Look, by the way, we should just call this podcast Chris Interrupts People because I'm bad. But I have heard the saying that if you're interrupting somebody, that means you're listening.
That's true.
So I will give myself that. But like I was thinking you were going to go with something negative there. And you were in fact saying that you went with like the holistic, like pure sky, like the thing that is like the thing before the addiction.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. That's really, really fucking cool. I quit drinking for 6 weeks back in 2019 and I got really into remote control cars. Don't know why. I just needed something to do.
Yeah,
And,
that's great.
and it worked. But then it was like, I'm going back, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's good because that the reason I bring it up is because you know, it is one of my coping mechanisms. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
So it's an important part of my story. And so anyways, my childhood, like, it wasn't that great for a long time. My parents ended up splitting up, and then my mom met my stepdad, and my stepdad was the first person who ever showed me like love, like showed me like what it was to be a good person, like
Nice.
to give unconditional,
That's a backwards stepdad story. Because
right?
the stepdad is not a good person, but this guy was like, he was a good dude.
He was,
Right.
and Catholic. So
He's
that's how,
Catholic?
yeah, that's how I ended up
He's not a good guy. I was raised Catholic. Catholics are bad people. Don't stay away from them. They're not good.
I do not practice Catholicism now, but that's how I was raised. And you know, it was a good thing for me when I was younger. I was an altar girl. I you
Altar
know,
boy.
that's right.
Didn't get my penis touched. The priest never got to me. Luckily, I was an ugly kid, you know.
Either I think we had some
I
pretty
feel like we missed out on the experience.
good
Like, you know what I mean? Like, shit. Sorry, go ahead.
um and so I had a fairly normal childhood home with my mom and my stepdad. But whenever I went to my dad's side of the family, that's where I experienced abuse. And my mom left me with people,
Like physical abuse and mental abuse.
physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, all the abuse.
Ah, motherfucker, all of it. God. So you did get the Catholic treatment in a way.
It was fucking horrible. Like, I had a horrible
How
child.
old were you?
Um, I think it was from the time I was like 7 until I was about 11. And I told my mom that I didn't want to go to that side of the family anymore. And she didn't really understand because I didn't explain it to her. But what happened was I had repressed memories, and I didn't realize it until I got older. And I have like whole sections of my childhood that I completely forgot. Like, my sisters will be like, oh, remember this time we went to this baseball game or went here or there? And I'm like, no. And they're like, pictures of you. I'm like, no recollection.
Jesus
But what I
Christ.
realize now is, like, when you have a lot of trauma, like, sometimes your brain blocks stuff out so that you can move on with your life and like still take care of stuff, and like,
Yeah, it's
you
survival mode.
what?
Survival mode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. And
See, I'm going to bring this back full circle with addiction in a while because currently I'm very busy and I'm just like, fuck it. I'll get this shit done. I don't give a fuck. You know, I'll just get the buzz and get it done and get to work. And I got to like, but survival mode, let's come back to that later. I'm sorry I keep interrupting you. I'm like fascinated by this whole conversation. Like, I majored in psychology in college and then dropped out because I hated it. But like, I am fascinated by it. So, like, you've got me on a lot of levels right now. So I'm gonna interrupt the fuck out of you. I'm sorry.
no, that's good. That's what makes this good, right? Um, so so I had a fairly decent childhood when I was at my parents' house. I was a cheerleader, like, and everything was good. And then when I was like a sophomore in high school, I moved from South Central school because we lived in the country in Alma. So I went to South Central. I moved from that school to Salem, and I went, and we were poor.
The big city.
Yeah, it's a big city. Like we were poor, so I didn't have like nice clothes, I didn't have cool shoes, like I didn't have anything like that, and I wasn't a cheerleader, like I didn't have anything to stand on, so like it was
Yeah.
to smoke weed because like if you ever
Identity.
like everybody
Identity.
chill, like it was cool. So started smoking hella weed, and when I was 17, I enrolled in the Illinois Army National Guard, and I was doing like the weekend warrior thing, like shooting M16s, like it was cool.
Do you know that the National Guard building in Salem is no longer there?
Is it? Aw.
Like it got torn the fuck down, and now this is so sad. Like it got torn down. That like beautiful, like I believe it was, I don't know if it was marble, it was white. It was a really beautiful building, and it got torn down. And then some dude like bought the property and tried to build a house on it, got like the frame of it up, and that's it.
Oh.
And now that's falling apart. So it's like, I mean, there's too many levels of kind of what's going on in that area. It's in my opinion, anyway.
Right? I'm feeling it.
It's not the best. Don't feel it.
Well, I visited there in December, and I was like glad to be out of there.
Oh,
Like
you went back in December?
yeah, I was in Illinois in December.
How is that amount of cultural shock for you to come from California to the good old days?
It reminded me why I don't want to live there.
Yeah, I recently had an experience up there. My cousin died, and
Sorry to hear that.
it's life. Life is death or whatever the fuck. But like, I've gone back, and it's always like I want this level of. It's almost like what you were talking about with the Twilight thing or whatever, like the sky. Like I want to go back to that like warm home feeling, you know what I mean? And it's like it doesn't exist anymore.
I feel the exact same way. Like I don't
Yeah.
have a home anymore.
Say what?
It feels like I don't have a home anymore.
Yeah, likewise, man. Likewise. I've got a new album coming out called Home, specifically because I live in a home that I'm thinking about selling to go play music. And it's like, if I sell my house, then I don't have a home. It's so like home is such a wild thing. And home with addicts, I mean, like, what are you looking for? You're looking for that little blanket. You know what I mean? You're looking for that.
Right.
So
Right.
what?
Yeah, I get that totally.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to my story. So
All right. The worst.
I enrolled in the Illinois Army National Guard, and then I got in a fight at school, and me and my friend beat this girl up, and I ended up getting a class 3 felony, and I didn't like call anybody, like I didn't call my parents, I didn't call anybody, I just went to court and pled guilty. And before that happened, I had spray painted 420 on the sign in front of the high school.
That's the day that my album's coming out, by the way.
Actually did the one that was on the building that they told me they had to like sandblast off, but nobody got in trouble for that. But I had to pay like $100 for them to like scrub the sign out front, and you could see the 420 for like a long time. But
never forget.
Anyways, so I became a felon at 17, and they put me on probation, and I didn't realize what being a felon was, and
Also
so
fucked up that you can become a felon at 17. You know what I mean? Like that's not fair.
And it's aggravated battery and assault with great bodily harm, and I can't have it taken off from California and I can't have it expunged or sealed or removed because it's a violent crime in Illinois. I have to go back, and the governor has to have it taken off, or like they explained it to me before, and
You
like
were
it's
17 years
not
old.
a big fucking ordeal. And
Fuck
like
that.
I'm gonna need it off there because I have like lots of stuff going on. But I'll get to that later in my story. So anyways, I became a felon, and I went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I got a job at Myrtle Beach Harley Davidson, and I was like, I was having fucking fun.
I
Right?
mean, that sounds pretty good.
I
Like,
went back I
yeah,
went back for my court date, and they were like, "What are you doing out of state?" And I was like, "Living." Like, I got a job. I like got a letter from my boss and stuff. They're like, "You're not supposed to be out of state. You're a felon."
yeah.
And
I mean, that was, I'll be honest with you, that was a very, like, you should have been paying more attention to specifics at that point in your life. I mean, I'm just going to say that.
I was getting drunk.
Oh,
Like
yeah. I don't understand. I don't get it.
a fucking rock star. Like I was having so much fun on the
Yeah.
beach in Myrtle Beach. Um, but anyways, so they they told me they wanted to give me 5 years of probation, and I'd have to stay in Illinois. And I was like, I can't do 5 minutes on probation.
Yeah.
And the judge was like, if you can go out, they told me if you can go across the street to the probation office and pass a drug test, we'll let you go. And I'm like, I'm high
Put me in jail. Yeah. Put me in
right
jail.
now. Like, what
What
do
a
you?
bunch of cunts. Like, I mean, it's just the way the whole fucking system is set up is so much bullshit. And I'm glad that you're doing something that's like actually like, it seems to me, I mean, I don't fucking know, but like, it seems like you have a file cabinet, there's a high five back there, and you're trying to actually help people with this, which is like the source of it all. And like the way that the ancient fucking system is set up is like put in cage. It's like these motherfuckers already feel like they're in a cage. That's why they're doing the shit they're doing. And then you put them in the cage. It's so like psychologically asinine to do that to people. And like when I hear about you being 17 fucking years old and you get popped for this shit, and like, and by the way, what did that bitch do? Maybe
Um,
she deserved to get her ass beat. You know what I mean? Like that's something that never gets like, to
right.
me, it's just like, I don't know. I understand that like law and order is a very difficult thing to navigate because of like personal rights and all that shit. But like, man, if a 17-year-old kid fucks up, don't take any. And to me, it's like a no shit. It's like when I look at it, it's a modern version of slavery where they're giving money to the government because they didn't, they broke the rules or whatever. And it's like, it's basically, to me, it's a financial version. I mean, I'm not saying that they're, what I'm getting at. So, and by the way, if you're mad about that, fuck you. But like, not you, the people listening. But like, it's just, they just chain you to this fucking like money shit. And then you can't get enough money. Also, you can't get a job. It's just bullshit. So it's good to see like you're at least doing something where I would imagine you're probably positively affecting people's lives, whereas the criminal justice system doesn't do anything but ruin people's lives, in my opinion. I don't like, I'm not saying if you kill somebody, you should be roaming the streets, but like if you beat somebody's ass because maybe they deserved it and you're 17, maybe don't, you know, send them to you. Send 17-year-old you to you, not fucking prison. You know what I mean? Like send it, get in the noggin.
They actually sent me to treatment like 2 or 3 times. Like I went to treatment several times, and I actually had a really bad acid trip that is fucking embarrassing.
Been there, sister.
Like it was bad. Like I thought it was Jesus. And like I was wearing a cow costume and like
Oh, what? How much acid did you take?
too fucking
How
much.
many hits?
I honestly do not know.
I'd like to know the number. Come on. Give me a
Like
ballpark.
drops, but they were from a dropper.
That was good asset.
It was.
Do you have that guy's number? I'm fucking with you.
Maybe it's waking up. No. But anyways, so I ended up going to the federal halfway house over all that. And then I was still on probation, and I just kept revoking it, like all the time, revoking probation. So it's like they kind of
Why were
did
you,
they made me clean,
I'm
but
good.
they were trying to give me a chance, and I kept fucking it up
But why?
because I'm an addict.
Okay. Now what the
Ready to stop getting high.
what do you think that like from your experience both as a human being that was an addict and now you're on the other end of that, like what do you think the definition of an addict is?
Um, hmm.
That's it's a Barbara Walters question, but like
Well, I mean, clinically speaking, an addict is someone who meets the 11 specifiers of addiction in the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical
fuck clinical,
Mental Illness,
fuck
right?
clinical, fuck clinical. What do you think an addict is?
Um, an addict is someone who uses a substance or something to help them cope with life that it's unhealthy and it doesn't promote wellness. That's what an addict is to me.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
And I think that when I was going through treatment, they were trying to address like the trauma and the mental stuff that happened to me, but I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
And you can't really treat something that you don't know where it comes from. And I actually remembered a lot of my childhood abuse when I got out of the federal halfway house, and my mom called me and she asked me if the abuse that happened to my brother happened to me. And it's like a movie playing in my head, and all these visions kept coming back. And my roommate was actually a junkie, like shooting up meth. And 20 minutes after that we had that conversation, I started shooting meth.
Uh,
And I couldn't stop. And then I ended up getting hooked on Oxycontins. And I ended
modern
up,
day Rush Limbaugh.
huh?
Rush Limbaugh was a conservative radio host that is dead now, but he got addicted to Oxycontins because of back surgery. And I always thought it was hilarious because, you know, Republicans, I mean, whatever, Republican, Democrat, I don't give a fuck. But like Rush Limbaugh was always very like pro police, pro all this shit. And then like this motherfucker gets hooked on Oxycontins. It's just funny to see how someone can go from being like, fuck these motherfuckers that are on drugs to then falling into that world. You know what I'm saying? And like his opinions really didn't change. So that guy's kind of a monster. Anyway,
Right?
yeah, like if you go through, that's what's cool is like you went through all this shit. At least you're empathetic enough to do what you're doing. You have a file cabinet again, and like you're doing actual shit to try to like promote positive change within that community. Whereas a lot of people will be so, I don't know. I think addicts are cool because they're transparent. Like I feel like I can like look at an addict and go, oh well, I know what this is. You know what I mean? Because I know who I am, and I'm a fucking addict, really. But like motherfuckers like that like talk shit about addicts all the fucking time and then get addicted to something and don't change their narrative are fucking narcissistically insane. Like I can't even imagine. I can't imagine that. And I know that I've taken this in another fucking direction, but like, welcome to the podcast. But like, I don't know, man. When you said that about the Oxycontin shit, it was like it made me think of Rush Limbaugh. You know, this motherfucker that like talks shit about crime and all this and made his whole goddamn living off of talking shit about people that are in the exact situation that he wound up in and then never changed his narrative. And then blamed it on like, I don't know. There's a level of personal responsibility that has to be accepted for you, for me, for Rush Limbaugh, for anybody. And you have to at least go, well, I am the one that bought the Bud Light. And the only reason I bought it was because I just support trans people. And I actually got shit today at the liquor store because I bought Bud Light. And I was blown away by that. Like, that's almost a form of addiction. You know, like that people felt the need to tell me that I was buying Bud Light. And I'm like, gay or something? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's like that thing in people's heads that just is either addicted to an ideology, and it's almost like you said about the night sky at the beginning. Like, you can be addicted to the night sky, you can be addicted to an ideology, whether it be the political left or the political right. You can be addicted to booze, you can be addicted to meth, you can be addicted to Oxycontins like your fucking Rush Limbaugh. But it's really just it's a coping mechanism, as you said earlier. So it's like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, there are people that are addicted to like McDonald's. There are people that are addicted to fucking
You could be addicted to anything.
exactly. But I think it's interesting to try to like go down into it and go, well, what is that? And like, you almost said it best whenever you said like the night sky thing, or the just that getting back to what made you feel okay.
Right.
That's why fucking McDonald's sells Happy Meals with toys in them. That's why they do that. So it gets kids to go, oh, at fucking 6. And then when they're older, they crave the flavor of that trash, which I still eat because it's fucking delicious. But like, that's the thing, man. It's like, it's not, addiction is really just like almost trying to go backwards in time to a place where you felt safe.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, end of podcast. I'm fucking with you. Continue with your story.
So anyways, yeah, got hooked on oxys, violated my probation a couple of times and ended up going to Myrtle Beach. I came back, they offered me a deal. I was like, no, I'd rather go to prison. They were like, you want to go to prison for a fight from in high school? And I was like, yeah, because I don't really want to live in Illinois anymore. And they were like, okay. So they gave me 2 years in prison, and I went and did it. I was in Dwight.
You're a hard bitch.
Longer there.
Like, that is a fucking statement, dude. Like, nah, I don't want to live in Illinois. I mean, that's how bad Illinois is. Go ahead. Sorry.
True. But I couldn't do 5 years on probation. I couldn't do 5 minutes on probation. So that was like ridiculous.
That was the addict. That was the addict in you. Like,
along with life, like, let's just, so I went and did prison time. I was in Dwight, which was the maximum security, and then I went to Lincoln, which I guess is like Logan was right across the street, but I guess they switched it, so Logan is the women's prison now. But I was in Lincoln. It was medium security, and it sucked. I went to a drug treatment program when I was in there, and I got day for day. I didn't get all my good time because I was a violent criminal, and so they I think I did 9 months total.
that's not bad on a 2 year.
Not that bad. And then I I got put on a year of parole, and when I was on parole, I got pregnant with my daughter, like 3 months after I got out, and I'd actually went back to drugs already. Like I used meth like a couple times, like I shot up a couple times, and then I found out I was pregnant. So of course I not of course, because I'm not, no judgment, but I stopped using, and and my daughter didn't find out I went to prison until she was like 14 years old. And I was like, yeah, you actually saved my life, because I stopped using drugs because I got pregnant with you.
That's probably a good time. I mean, you don't want to tell her that when she's 4.
Right? But she's like really prissy. Like she's like me now, except like, she's just really, really girly. And she's like, I'm a parole baby. Oh my gosh. It was funny. But I was like, yeah, you are. And then so I had my daughter. I ended up getting on parole a week after I had her. So she was born like January 18th, and I got a parole like January 22nd. And then we ended up buying a house in Myrtle Beach and moved to Myrtle Beach. We
Well,
moved back there.
you were with a dude at this time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
His
Well, at
name
least there
is
was a.
his name is Chuck Hayden.
Well, we don't have to. We just I'll bleep that. We don't need to talk about. I try not to mention names, but I do know who that is. So,
All right. Well, that's my ex-husband.
are you guys cool?
Yeah, we're cool. We're going to Vegas
Okay, then fine.
May.
Then
Yeah,
fine.
we're going to the
I
Sick
don't
New
want.
World
You know what
Tour.
I'm saying? Like, I don't want to talk shit about people or anything like that.
No, I'm not talking shit about him. I mean, he's a good guy. He's a good dad. Like, I don't know, we don't have problems. Or like I said, we're going to Vegas to the Sick New World Tour, and we're going to see the Deftones and Slipknot, all that good shit.
I
We're
would
getting
put a
together.
gun. I would put a gun in my mouth if I went to that concert. I hate that music so much. Like,
I know you made fun of me in high school for wearing a shirt that said
yeah,
live
Deftones
shit.
are the worst.
What the
At
fuck
least,
you rap?
look. I'm
Like,
sorry, dude, but I did like. I just hate all that fucking heavy metal shit. It's just like too much for me, man. Like, it's like it's too angry. It's too angry. I'm sorry. I'm not talking. I mean, fuck
it's
the
all
devil.
good. I like all kinds of music. I like all kinds of
I think
music.
you and I agree on Sublime.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that band. Like I in high school, everyone always told me to like them, so I didn't because it was just so incessant. Like they're the shit. I was like, all right, T-shirt, calm down, you know. And then when I got to be like 23, I was blown away by it. But back to your story again. I'm a real bad podcast host.
No, it's all right. So anyways, I moved to Myrtle Beach, and then my best friend actually lived out there also, and she told me that she wanted to go on the Grateful Dead tour, and
It's a great idea if you're
she
on
lived
parole.
like she lived like a block from the ocean, like you could see
You're
the.
on parole. Hold on. So you're on parole.
No, I got off parole.
You're
And
finally off parole. Okay, cool. Because then that's okay. Yeah, go. But still, but go for it. Okay. Your decision making process is interesting to me.
it is. But I really wasn't getting fucked up at that point. Like I had my two kids.
Then don't go on the Grateful Dead tour.
I didn't go. I told her to go, and I
Okay.
was like, go see what's out there, like see what the world has to offer. And she was gone for like 6 months, and she actually hitchhiked from the East Coast all the way out to California. And she came out to Covelo, California, which has a Native American reservation on it. And she called me, and uh, she said, I'm living up here in the mountains. Some hippie picked me up. And she's like, I work on a weed farm. And I was like, I've been waiting on a bag of weed for like 3 fucking days.
Dude, I had a friend that worked on a weed. I had a friend that worked on a weed farm out in California, and it sounded to me, I was like 26 at the time, and I was like, this sounds amazing. but I just didn't
Probably
link.
know that friend.
You probably do. Well,
There are lots of people because of that trip I just told you about. You probably know about 12 people that have came out to California.
specifically because of that. Yeah. Well, there you go. Creating greatness.
Small world. Um, but anyways, so I came out here. I ended up selling my house in Myrtle Beach. I moved back to St. Louis for a minute, and then I came out on vacation. I went on the most glorious road trip along the coast on the one. I went to Big Sur. I ate filet mignon and like drank the best wine and smoked the fucking best weed. And I was like, I love this place. Like I gotta move here.
You
So I
had
moved.
a fuck ton of money, apparently. If you're eating all
I
filet.
just sold the house, so I had
Oh,
like a
that's
big.
right. Yeah, yeah. My
I
bad.
was
My
having
bad.
fucking fun in California. Like I
Yeah.
don't know, I spent like 10 grand on a fucking trip. Like read I just spent a ridiculous money. But anyways, so I moved back to St. Louis for like a year and then I ended up moving to California and yeah, I came out here and I moved up to Covelo and I worked at a bar and I started drinking like there was no tomorrow because it was way up in the mountains and I there were rivers. I really thought it's like the most beautiful place on earth. Like it's just like rivers and mountains, like it's way up in the mountains, like 26 miles. Um, just beautiful country. But I became an alcoholic and then my we ended up moving um toward uh my
Are
ex-husband.
you and Chuck and the family and all that's like still a unit at that point?
Yeah, we're all still a unit.
All right, all right, all right.
So we ended up moving here to Lake County, and I our relationship just fell apart. Like we were drinking far too much. Like we're
That'll
just
do it.
rock stars, and we moved into a house on the lake, like a $750,000 house, and we had a
What?
pontoon boat, and like you take the pontoon boat around to like all the casinos and stuff.
Who
Like
are you?
this is fucking awesome.
I
Like
didn't, I didn't know that I was interviewing Oprah. Like 750? You had a house that was worth 750?
yeah, it's California. Like that's pretty average.
Yeah, I know it's cheap in California, but still, Jesus Christ, I didn't realize how
It was
rich.
a tight ass house though. Like we had a full blown bar and like a redwood bar and like it was we had like a red pool table and like it was fucking tight. It was like a real
Yeah,
bar.
it
But
sounds pretty
and
tight.
we had a boat, so we'd like go to the
Flipping
boat
you off for having a boat.
casinos to like and that's when Canocti Resort was open, and so they had like different bands. Like we saw Leonard Skinner there. We saw like I don't know. There's a like BB King. Like there's
Yeah, I've seen both of those
Pete
people.
Robinson. Like lots of cool people came through here. I don't know, Kid Rock. I
Yeah.
didn't know if you're interested in him, but
No, I mean, he's not
lots,
going to be
lots
happy
of big
about
names
this.
came through.
He is not going to be happy about that, but it's fine. I also love the fact that Kid Rock decided to go buy a bunch of Bud Light to shoot it with a gun. So, like, this is how insane the United States is. That guy, like, got mad about a trans person getting a can from Bud Light, which I also think is stupid on Bud Light's part. It's like, what are you doing? Like, just calm down. Like, it's just all business. So then Kid Rock goes and gives money to the company he's mad about by buying a bunch of Bud Lights to shoot it with a gun. Think about that. This guy is mad, in air quotes, because a trans person got like a can of beer, right? But then he goes and purchases a bunch of that beer, essentially making their stock go up, to make a video where he's shooting. Like, it's like the level of idiocy within both Bud Light and Kid Rock is exactly the same, just on polar ends of the spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking insane. everybody is just selling something. But that's capitalism, that's America, you know. And in a way, that's also addiction, man. Like for example, I don't see any difference between uh Bud Light reaching out to like the trans community via their can and Busch Stadium. It's the same shit. Like when I was a kid, I liked baseball. I liked Ozzie Smith. When I got older, I drank Budweiser because Busch Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, Bud Light recognized a void in a demographic. And they were like, if we reach out to trans people, young woke people are going to love it. And we need those people to perpetuate our business into the future. So that's what we're going to do. And Kid Rock will be dead in like a year and a half. You know? So it's just like the way that culture feeds capitalist culture feeds addiction. Period. I'm a capitalist, but like, it just, that's what the job of capitalism is, advertising. Like, it's all that same shit, all getting back to that nugget of like, oh, I'm fine, you know? Back to your story.
Okay. And so I'm living in Lakeport, like I'm like getting up, running 5 miles a day, like working at a bar here in town, which the bar I worked in Covelo was called the Buckhorn, and then I worked at a bar here that was like a biker bar called
You're drinking and running?
Huh?
You're drinking and running?
Yeah, I knew all the bartenders, so I would like run in the morning and I would stop at all the bars and get like 2 shots from every bar.
Let me ask you a question though. Let's be straight up here. As a woman, were you running to stay fit because you needed to make more tips?
Both. I was
Oh.
I was running for my health, and because I'm one of those people who when they're uncomfortable, I always want to get away. So running was my it was like my way to get away. But it was interesting because I ended up leaving my ex-husband, and it was pretty cool how I met my now ex, but we were together for 14 years. And I was walking up the stairs of my house and I was like, look, I can go in here and fight with this motherfucker, or I can go next door and see what the neighbor's doing. So I went and talked to the neighbor, and we were together for 14 years. So that's how that went.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good
Yeah,
memory.
it's wild how little bitty, like little bitty decisions. They're not even little bitty. They're big. They're obviously like a culmination.
Right.
Say what?
Right? Like leaving my husband was a kind of a big decision, but
No, it's huge, but it was the culmination of it getting to that point where you were like, I can either A, go here and fight, or B, go over here, which is essentially survival mode. You went with, in that moment, you went with fucking what do they call it? Fight or flight.
Mhm.
And you decided to flee,
Right.
literally. So that's wild, man. That's wild. Proceed.
Oh, go ahead.
By the way, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to quit interrupting you. I do this all the time on the podcast. I'm the worst. But since I drink trans beer, I got to piss. So just continue telling your story, and I'm going to go take a sit down piss over here. And the thing of it is, you won't get interrupted. And this will be a good part of the podcast for people because I'm finally gone. And you can just tell your story without me being like, Rush Limbaugh, you know? So do it and I'll hear it. I'm going to be right there.
Okay.
And I'm going to be real quiet.
All right.
No one's gonna hear it. That's why I'm taking a sit down pee like a woman. And I drink Bud Light. Kid Rock would hate me. How much do you want to bet Kid Rock only takes stand-up peas?
I don't know.
I shouldn't fuck with you about money. You had a $750,000 house in California. I'm gonna just go take a pee. But continue the story. Continue the story.
Okay. So, I ended up leaving my ex-husband. I shut down the bar one night at work early, and I went to a small party, and I ended up using meth. And previous to that, like 6 weeks before, I had gotten in a drunk driving car accident when I was driving from Covelo back to Lake County, and I wrecked into the side of the mountain in my little Beamer, and I cracked some of my ribs in my chest. So, uh, like that night after I shut the bar down, I used some meth, and the last thing I remember thinking is we were smoking meth, and I was thinking, I wish I had a needle because I know how high it could be right now because I and then it felt like somebody snapped a rubber band in my head, and I had 2 strokes and 7 brain aneurysms, and I had to be flown out of Lake County to Stanford, and then I was there for like, I don't really know the amount of time, like 2 weeks, and then I went to St. Louis. I flew to St. Louis, and I ended up staying in a nursing home, and I had to re-teach myself how to walk and how to talk and how to live again, like everything. Like I was completely paralyzed on the right side of my body, which is, you can't really tell on here, but like my arm is still really weak, and I walk with a limp like a pimp. And um and I got super depressed when I was in the nursing home. I felt like I
Naturally.
had a beautiful body before, and like I had pretty much, everything going for me. I had 2 little kids. I had like um ended my marriage. I was in a new
Ah,
relationship, but had I couldn't even move my leg. Like I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't anything. And I got super depressed because I was living in a nursing home at the age of 26 with people that were at the end of their lives. And just talking to them, like I really learned a lot from them because most of them were elderly, and it taught me that nothing that we have in this world is really worth anything, because when we leave, all we're going to have with us in the end is our memories. So it's all about like making memories and like trying to live our best lives, right? And so I did some rehabilitation, and I wasn't really getting that much better, and I had my sister wheel me down the hallway in my wheelchair, and I ordered a plane ticket back to California. And when I left St. Louis, they were like, you can't take your wheelchair with you. And so I've been walking ever since, because the wheelchair belonged to the nursing home and they wanted it back. And so I started walking with a
yeah,
cane,
yeah, yeah.
and and yeah, I've been walking ever since. So I started going to physical therapy, and I started getting my body better, and then I started going to yoga. I had really bad anxiety, so I did some biofeedback, which what, like,
What?
do you know what that is?
I don't. What is that?
So biofeedback, the kind I did, like played a video game with my mind, because I used to have really bad anxiety. Like I thought that I was gonna have another stroke or something bad was gonna happen. Like I just always had anxiety because I was scared of the future. Because when you have anxiety, you're scared of the future. When you're depressed, you
Depressed, you live in the past.
the past.
Yeah.
And through yoga and meditation, I was learning to be in the present, but I couldn't shake the feeling of feeling like I was gonna have a stroke, like I was traumatized.
Yeah, of course.
Uh, so biofeedback, they put little sensor on my finger, and you wear a headset and you look at a screen, and it like these balloons would come up, like red balloons, and they'd be floating across the screen like nice and slow, and like there's like blue sky and clouds, and like it's really pretty and everything's good, and then the balloons start popping and you're like, oh shit, what was that,
It's
right?
an odd thing considering that when you had a stroke, you felt like a rubber band popped in your head. That kind of had to be traumatic too, in a weird way. Jesus
Right.
Christ. Dude, I took a fucking sit down piss at this is the worst sit down piss I've taken in the history of this podcast. I was in there like, fuck, she's telling the story about that, like, but at the same time, it's good that I couldn't interrupt, you know? So your story is fucking amazing, man. Like, to me, anyway, I hope it is to other people, but like, how did you get into going from through all of that crazy shit to now being like you have a file cabinet? How
I'm
did
getting
you
to it.
say
I'm
what?
I'm getting to it.
I'm
So
sorry. Yeah, see, I
back.
should let me go take it. Hey, if you want, I'll go take another sit down piss and just shut the fuck up. Let
No,
you have
it's
the floor. All right.
um
I'm bad. I'm bad.
but okay, so let me just tell you about biofeedback real quick.
Sorry.
So the balloons start popping, and then the thing on my finger was like keeping track of my heartbeat, right? My pulse and my heart rate. And so I would have to be calm to make the balloons stop popping because it was all hooked together, right?
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
what I realized is that you're actually in control of your heartbeat. You're in control of your body functions that you think you're not in control of. Like we're
What do they
actually
call that shit? What do they
control.
call that? Hey, what do they call that shit though? It's like if I move my arm, it's one thing, but my heartbeat, my breath, there's like a difference biologically. I can't think of what it's fucking called.
Voluntary.
Yes, thank you. I have a vocabulary very small.
Yeah,
So
but we're
you think you're in
control
control
of
of your
what?
involuntary shit?
We're in control of our involuntary stuff, even though we think we're not. And it took me like a couple sessions. Like there's a bunch of different games you can play. Like there's one with rocks where you like walk across a stream, and like if you get nervous, then the rocks start disappearing, and then like the water starts going really fast, and like it's you got these headphones on, and like the noises get like like it's crazy. But what you realize is like you're actually in control of everything. But it feels like we're not, but we can make ourselves upset or sad, or you know like give ourselves anxiety. That's what it teaches us. So that's how I got over that. I had to use a medication for a while. I used lorazepam, and through biofeedback I was able to get off of that. And so I went from taking like 20 pills from my stroke a day to like no pills at all. So I don't take any medication for anything now.
Huh.
But I started I started just hitting the gym, and like seriously I got a six pack out of this world. Like not a six pack, Chris, but like a six.
Oh, I was gonna ask you if you could send that to me.
It
I thought it was beer.
was really like a 12 pack. But yeah, I got super strong. Like my arm was still weak, and I felt like I was mentally good because I was doing meditation and focusing on my spirituality. But I wanted to know what I did to my body, so I started studying alcohol and other drugs at our college. And then what I found out was to get the certificate for alcohol and other drug studies, I had to do an internship. And I had been on disability for 10 years. Like and I wasn't really ready to go back to work, but I got a job anyways at a residential treatment facility, and I ended up getting 3 certificates in human services and human services paraprofessional and alcohol and other drugs. And then I got 2 associate's degrees in alcohol and other drug studies and human services as a paraprofessional. And then I decided to go to Humboldt State and study social work because I honestly, I started studying social work because I like what we call good trouble. Like I still like to get in trouble, but
What's
I
the what is
in
that?
like good trouble, right?
Ah, yes, yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
like just like stir the pot, but do it professionally.
Yeah.
And I really started studying social work because I wanted to be able to tell people to professionally fuck off without saying fuck
I like it.
like now I know how to actually like say that smart.
Clinically.
So, like it's cool though because now I go to court for people and I can like say uh your Honor, the DEA is actually what he has to say is inaccurate, and this is the
That's
actual.
so fucking, you're such a bad bitch, like across the board. Like the fact that you've gone through all this shit and now you're advocating for people that went through the exact same shit that you have. To me, that's like, I like, I don't know. I wish that I wouldn't taken the sit down pee when I did because it was like the best part of your story. But I do think that it was good that I didn't interrupt. And had I been in here, I would have. But all right, well let's wrap it up because I mean, I don't really know what else you could say that would
Well,
blow your mind more than what you have. But like I really want to talk to you about like your philosophy on addiction, like and what you think. Like I don't know if there's somebody watching this or somebody hosting this podcast that would maybe like to cool it on the booth. Uh, like, what do you think? Because I feel like the psychological aspect of it, for me anyway, I'm not like, I mean, I am physically addicted to shit. And I can feel that when I quit. But the psychological aspect of it is the most like intense. That's what always wins. You know what I mean? So, like, what do you think? What would your advice be to anyone that was like listening to this that is struggling with some kind of an addiction where it's like, what would you tell them? And I know it's a tough fucking like thing to say, but like, what would you tell them to kind of to keep in their mind? And I have my own views on that because I have taken breaks from supporting trans people, but like I don't know. I'm curious to see what you think because you're actually done with it. Like I've quit for like 6 weeks and shit like that, and I always go back to it. So what's the key to like keeping up with yourself and not fucking folding?
so I honestly feel like for me the answer to that question is I I work in a Native American clinic, right? And we use the medicine wheel, and the medicine wheel has 4 parts,
Oh
right?
Jesus, we're going full fucking. Hold on.
But look,
I did not see it going that way. I like Native Americans. I think they're smarter than whites, but let me, I did not see it going that way. So let me pull it back in. All right. 4 parts, medicine wheel.
yes, the medicine wheel.
I don't
So
know
the
what that is.
wheel has 4 parts, and it's like your spirit. It's wellness. So just being fully well, right? So there's
It's like
like your
what is it?
spiritual health.
The hierarchy. Was it Oslo's hierarchy? The
Uh,
triangle thing?
yeah, Maslow's hierarchy.
That's it. Yeah, I said Oslo, but so basically it's Maslow's hierarchy for people that are more emotionally intelligent. Because Native Americans are way more emotionally intelligent than whites. So let's hear this.
Yeah, I would say.
Fuck yeah, they are.
So there's like spiritual health, there's emotional health, there's physical health, there's mental health, right?
Yeah.
And if you have all four of those parts in balance, like you're like a wheel and you're rolling right along, right? And if you have one of those spots that's not, you're like a flat tire. So when you get to like if your physical health is bad, like you can be emotionally healthy, spiritually healthy, all that, and then when it comes to your physical health, you'd be like dunk dunk. You're like a flat tire. Like you can't keep moving forward. And for a lot of people that have addiction, it's some of it's physical, you know, people have pain and whatnot, but a lot of times it's emotional or it's mental. Um and it's like to get into that and to tackle that, that's a different thing. And like like yesterday, I was talking to somebody, and we were talking about emotions, right? Because if you think about it, like in the circle of life, like when we're children, we when we have babies, they don't have any experiences. Like they don't have fear, they don't have mistrust, they don't have
They're
um,
pure.
negative emotions. You know, they mostly have connection and love for their parents, right? And then all this stuff in life starts happening to them, right? And through all these experiences, like we we start to learn lessons from all of our experiences, and from all those lessons, that's how we get knowledge, and from all the knowledge, that's how we get wisdom. So it's like by the time we're elders, like we have a lot of wisdom, right? So in native culture, like, you know, we have lots of respect for our elders and for youth.
Yeah.
And when we're stuck in the middle part, we often get lost in our emotions because our emotions are actually reminders. They remind us of our lessons. And so, with everything that happens in life, we have to be reminded of what an experience has taught us, right? So, it's like for everything that happens, like we have to decide, like, is that like where did that take me before? Like, why am I feeling negative about this? Well, I don't want to feel that anymore, so I'm going to leave it where it's at. Because if you think about the things that happened, like in my childhood, like I had all these negative things that happened to me, I was abused and whatnot. Like, I came to this point and I was like, I'm 41 years old, right? And like, how long am I going to carry around these people? Like, I can never fly if I'm carrying these people around on my back everywhere. So I had to let them go. And like to say that and to actually do it, that's two different things. Like it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of therapy, and it takes a lot of digging. And some people use the 12 steps, some people use a sponsor to help them out. Um I'm a very I internally do things. Like I just have to sit and think things out, which is why my stroke was so good for me, because I couldn't run like I
Might have
like
been
to.
why you had it.
I had to like actually sit and be in myself and
Yeah.
figure shit out. And like it's just like everything in our lives, right? If you think about the serenity prayer, like grant me the serenity to accept the things I
Yeah.
can, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. What that actually is like there's things in this world we can control, right? The things we can control are like how we react to things, like things like
Absolutely.
that. Like we
Yeah.
can't
I
control time,
agree
we can't
100%.
control the weather, we can't control what other people think, we can't control any of that. And the wisdom is knowing what we can control and what we can't control. Because if we can control something, we should put like 150% into that. And if we can control it, if we can't control it, we have to let it go, right? And and the difference, knowing the difference, that's really just deciding what's worth fighting for and what's not. Right? That's all it is. And
Dude.
so I've been clean and sober for 14 years and 10 months on just that. And I never experienced serenity until I was able to put all those people down that I've been carrying around with me since I was a child. And the cool thing about that is like, I can face anything in life and I don't need a substance for that. Like, I don't need to go home after work and have a beer to relax. Like, I can just do that. And I have pride in that. Like, I love that feeling. I love it. And if I even start to think about drinking, my whole attitude changes. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's fucking nuts. And that's why I go to
How does your attitude change?
that's why I like
If you start to think about drinking, how does your attitude change?
because we relapse in our minds before we ever pick up a beverage. And the worst thing that can happen to me is I leave this today, I stop and get a beer, I go home, I sit on my front porch, I watch the sun go down like I do every night, I drink the beer, I go inside, I make dinner, I clean the house, I brush my teeth, I go to bed, and nothing happens. That's
You
the
know
worst.
what's fucking sick about that? Do you know what's fucking sick about that? To be honest with you, like when I heard that, is that even like you're so well recovered that you talked about drinking a beer and then sitting on the porch and then go in the house and like, and then it was all like pragmatic shit. So like drinking isn't pragmatic at all. But everything you said after you talked about the hypothetical beer you would have, clean the house, cook, do the shit, like it's pragmatic to not drink. Like drinking is retarded. I'm retarded for how drunk I am all the time. Like, so if you want to like cool your shit on the booze or anything really, it's like just be pragmatic and look at it and go, well, if I drink one of these, what else am I doing? Nothing. Like when it gets to the point where you're so involved in it, you know, I have a problem personally with like, I'll drink to do work, but there are times where I have work to do that I'll drink in order to do that work, and I won't do anything other than drink. That's it. So like, I'll come home and be like, oh, I'm fucking tired. I'm gonna drink to like clean the house. I'll listen to music. You try to make like a party in your head, you know? And then I'll fucking start drinking. And I'll do like one dish. And it's just not pragmatic in any way, shape, or form. But dude, what you just said, the soliloquy that you gave at the end of that was fucking beautiful. I'm so glad I took just a sit down piss to like get out of here and let you have the floor. I'm sorry I interrupted the whole time, but I really, really genuinely appreciate you taking the time to do this because the things that you said to me, I love. I don't know. It's very nice to put a person on this thing that has a file cabinet. You're the first guest I've had that has a file cabinet. And to hear your story and like the wild shit that you've gone through, and for you to be like, you have a fake plant on top of your file cabinet.
It's
So
not that's
that
not
motherfucker is fake.
it's a real plant.
No, it's not. That's
Yeah,
plastic. I can say I'm fucking with you.
real ivy.
Is it really? That's a real plant.
I
Yeah.
have the plants in my office.
So that's an actual plant.
Yes, there are several live
Okay,
plants.
well, hear me out. Hear me out.
Mhm.
You have a file cabinet, and that's not a fake plant. You're doing great. And that makes me happy to know that. So I'm going to ask you a question. Normally, I name the podcast. What do you want to call it? The title of it. Huh?
The podcast? What are we gonna call it?
Yeah, the title of it. If you don't have any ideas, I'll just name it. It's no big deal. But like, I thought it was funny to call it like COVID era AA meeting. But then you said something earlier because of the Zoom thing, you know. But then you said something earlier that was really profound, and I'm kind of drunk, so I forgot. So I don't know if you have a title. Like, do you want to like, you know, what's your like? Yeah, what would you sum it up with? Like, like how to stay off shit. 2 words, 3 words, 4 words, maybe. And if you don't have an answer, it's not a problem.
I just think like recovery happens, or like
I don't like that. That sounds.
it's like a hope dealer instead of a
What'd
dope
you say?
dealer. A hope dealer
Hope
instead of
dealer. That's it. Hope dealer with Jennifer Nauert. I can't even say your last name. How do I say
Nauert. Nauert.
Nauert?
Yeah.
Hope dealer with Jennifer Nauert. Well, there you go. Thank you so much. And I hope that, you know, a few people hear this shit and maybe they're struggling with, you know, shit like this. Oh, by the way, hey, are you going to build that motorcycle?
I don't know. I'm stuck at fourth place, but everybody can vote for me, and maybe I'll make.
I'll put the fucking link. Send me the link and I'll put it in the thing. And maybe we can get you with the 35 people that listen to my podcast. Maybe we can get you over the hump.
Right?
Seriously, like,
I think the cooler than the motorcycle is I actually have a nonprofit called Sacred Life Recovery, because I actually am with my best friend who is Pomo, like Native American.
oh,
Um, she is helping me build Sacred Life Recovery, and like we have a board, and like, you know, we're like doing stuff. We're
you are a rich woman.
program. We're gonna have a residential treatment program, and like I'm 4 weeks
Good.
away from graduating with a master's degree.
Yeah,
Just
I do that shit. Yeah, fuck yeah, fuck yeah.
and uh and I'm taking a year off to like write a book, and I'm gonna get my doctorate in organizational leadership.
Dude, I
So
really feel like I should just like call the podcast "This a Bad Bitch." I mean, like, I'm not gonna call it that, but like, I am. Yeah, send me the links. I'll put them all in the thing, and I really hope people listen to this because I think that your philosophy in life, particularly now, maybe not when you were younger, is
yeah,
so. I'll leave it at that. And I love you,
thank you.
and I want to say thank you. And now I have to hit the button in order to make the shit stop on my computer. But I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to me.
No, thank you for fucking talking to me. All right, I'll man, thank you. Good night.
Have a good night.